Okay.
We are so excited for this session, and I am excited to get Dr. Kelley introduced. She has been working in education since 2000, from preschool to higher ed. She has been an associate faculty member for the past 6 years for Ashford University, now the University of Arizona Global Campus. Prior to that, she worked as an assistant professor of education at Ashford and the Clinton campus. She has taught preschool, middle school, high school, and as an adjunct for ECE at local colleges. Currently, Dr. Kelley is an instructional coach for North Scott Community College in Eldridge, Iowa. Dr. Kelley, we are so honored to have you here today. So thank you for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. All right. So Tisha, I'm just checking. Everyone can see my screen. Everything's great.
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. Thank you. So in this session for developing literacy through play, I am going to share foundational knowledge to build engaging, developmentally appropriate, and fun literacy language activities through play that will encourage critical thinking and literate focus behavior. We will be covering some of these hard-hitting questions about play and literacy throughout this presentation. These questions are: why is play important? What are the benefits of play? How do you use play in your classroom? And what are the challenges of play in classroom? How can play benefit literacy? And what can you do in your classroom to promote that literacy? So first off, why is play important? Play allows children to develop their imagination, dexterity, and physical, cognitive, and emotional strength. Play is important to healthy brain development. It is through play that children at a very early age engage and interact with the world around them. It is simply the best interaction we can allow our children to have, either independently or with others. The activities associated with play are essential for children's growth cognitively, socially, emotionally, and linguistically. As the article "The Importance of Play" shows, it is important for us to direct play as well. Yes, I said direct their play. It is you who will determine just how meaningful play is for those children in your care. For example, your willingness to include literature into play has a tremendous bearing on whether or not children gain in their literacy skills. It seems so minor, yet it's a major key to this aspect of play being successful. Literacy develops in meaningful and functional social settings. Providing these social settings through play will have benefits that not only develop children's literacy skills, but also can impact the whole child developmentally. Another way adults can guide children's play is through scaffolding. For example, if Ryan began playing in the block center and his teacher notices that he is beginning to get frustrated, she might walk over and sit with him and gently begin to build, modeling a way that might help to curb his frustration. She might not take his blocks and show him directly, because that might be considered as too intrusive to a child who's already frustrated. There are so many ways teachers and caregivers can enhance the play experience in their classroom, but it truly starts with you and your understanding of the importance of play. Your attitude towards play and what you do to promote meaningful play will ultimately determine the quality of the learning environment and the events that occur there. There is a wonderful video series called The Power of Play that I highly recommend. The types of social interactions that can come from play benefit young children's literacy skills. In some early childhood centers, play is thought to be an essential aspect of early childhood education. But let me rewind a little bit to introduce myself. And I'm going to turn my camera on so you can see me. Hi, I'm Maura Kelley, and I'm a dog lover and constant observer. I've been married to my husband, Joel, for over 5 years, and we have 2 rescue dogs that we spoil obnoxiously. Their names are Lucas, a 7-year-old Great Dane lab mix, and Sadie, a lab mix of something. And she's very much a lap dog. She is absolutely too smart for her own good as well. I currently reside in Iowa since 2013, but have spent a great deal of my life in Colorado. They keep life interesting. They keep play in our lives. And that's what's really important, is that I know I'm talking about ECE, but play should be throughout all life. And I'm going to get more into that. If we start with a center picture of myself, my husband, and 2 dogs, I'm going to go kind of counterclockwise. Next, there's a picture of myself in Estes Park with my other black lab that I used to have, Tessa, and she experienced lots of play. We went through that park and had just a blast. Below is an Iowa cornfield. I know it's exciting, but that's actually outside my backyard. Then there I am playing with the students because it's a color run day. So I'm trying to get them to fundraise and get excited about color run. I also like to play on the beach. I don't know about you, but vacation in our Florida beaches is a blast. And then there's also fun in Colorado is the corner picture. And the two student pictures above, those are from two separate classes with the same activity. It's a team building activity that helps us, one, students get to, know who they are. It's a first week activity, but also critical thinking skills. And that's what play does. Play really allows for these executive functioning skills. And then that classic 1980s swing set, I will say that that swing set was not concreted in and was an Airbnb to a lot of wasps, but we had so much fun on it. Okay, I'm going to turn off my camera. So now I've been working in education, like Tisha said, since 2000, but with children before that, as most of us. I have a BA in political science and social studies education, MA in reading, instruction and curriculum, and a doctorate in education and organizational leadership. I have, like many of you, been working with children since I was asked to babysit, then worked in daycare facilities throughout high school until I went to college. There, I was convinced to delve back into working with children after earning my political science degree and working for Colorado State University in their engineering department. I was tasked to orient middle school and high school students to the department, and it was from working with them, listening to their eager minds, question and learn, and then question again, that I woke up to the realization that I am meant to work with students. During my time in education, I've played many roles with the PK-12 and higher education systems. Currently, I'm an instructional coach, like Tisha was saying, but it's in the North Scott School District, not community college. And I'm an associate faculty member for UAGC. My goal today is that you walk away with some activities and ideas that you can readily use in your classrooms. Oh, and that you really have some fun and learn how to play. Play in education is not a new concept. It has been around since the time of Plato. Our children from the earliest years must take part in all the more lawful forms of play, for if they are not surrounded with such an atmosphere, they can never grow up to be well-conducted and virtuous citizens, said Plato. So what did he do? 2,400 years ago, Plato created play sanctuaries. These play sanctuaries were allowed to children 3 to 6 years old with a variety of free play. So if we've known for 2,400 years how important play is, then we should know that it continues to be important to this day. So what is the current argument for play today? Well, the American Academy of Pediatrics in 2018 stated that play is fundamentally important for learning 21st century skills such as problem solving, collaboration, and creativity, which require the executive functioning skills that are critical for adult success. Play allows children to develop cognitively and socially, emotionally, and it really impacts their language and literacy skills development. Oh, for all those golden girls out there, here's a reference for you. Picture it, rural Illinois, 1980s. A young Maura is playing outdoors. She was out the door by 7 a.m. and the world was at her fingertips. Take a moment, if you can, and think back to a happy childhood memory. What was something that you loved to do as a little kid? Was it riding a bike down the street, the wind in your face, going as fast as your little legs could pump those pedals? Was it building with erector sets, blocks, plastic building bricks, and Lincoln logs? Creating whatever your imagination allowed? Was it pretending to be a teacher or a rock star or a veterinarian or a dragon or a superhero? Was it painting at an easel, mixing colors and bringing pictures to life? Was it digging in the dirt and climbing trees and building forts and uncovering hidden insects under rocks? Or was it dressing up your Barbie for a princess ball or having a water gun fight with your brother? By playing, spending time with friends, making up games, taking risks just for the sheer joy of play reinforces that play is the work of childhood. It is where children learn the foundational rules of language, how to cooperate with others, creativity, social emotional development, such as self-regulation, and most importantly, it is where they build relationships and make connections with themselves, others, and the world around them. Think back to a time where you last played. What emotions do you have flooding back into your memory? Is there a smile, a story that is now coming into focus? I was a latchkey kid and had the freedom to roam and play all day. There were days that I played from sunup to sundown. We were like cats, only coming home for the food. Making up games, playing school or bus stop, creating a boat from junk to ride on the creek, only to have it sink once weight was applied. I can remember being gone 12 to 14 hours a day, and no one was coming to check up on me. That kind of freedom of play taught me a lot. It taught me resilience, fortitude, innovation, creativity, and sometimes survival. Just the other day, I saw a colleague who had retired from education. She picked up a gig at the local library. Seeing her behind the desk brought back memories of when I played library. I immediately told her how envious I was of her new job and explained the reasoning. I painstakingly stamped and placed my address in all the books I had as a kid. The library stamp was from the cereal box, and it was a Flintstone character. I would then check out books to the neighborhood kids. It was glorious and entrepreneurial all at the same time. And it was play. It was all play. Play allowed me to pretend. It gave me a role to explore, and the memory still brings me joy, as do books. Play can be a powerful recall tool for children and adults because of the varied connections, the senses, and experiences that play creates. Her reaction was contagious joy to speak about play. Of course, now she has the lens of her grandchild and how it will impact him as he develops. The creativity was one thing that we spoke about. She talked about how she played school and had a chalkboard where she gave random assignments to her younger siblings. They had to stay there and complete coloring pages, etc. We all have experiences to share and bring to our practice today. Think back to your toys as a child. What was your favorite toy as a child? Why was it your favorite toy? You can see on the slide, this is George. He has been with me since I had my tonsils out in 1985, the hard way, and he had stayed in the hospital with me. Being a fourth child, there were a lot of things that you hold on to. Something that wasn't a hand-me-down and was uniquely yours was definitely one of those things. George was a puppet. I could put my hand in the back of his head. I know that sounds really bad. But then he could talk to me and he could talk to others. I wasn't so alone when my older siblings went off with their friends or left Half Pint, or Pokey, as they like to call me, behind. Clearly, on a psychological level, this toy has had an impact and importance to have survived many nationwide moves and purging to still be safe and sound in 2021. The impact that play and toys can have on a child is immense. It's an experience that ignites the senses. So what exactly is play? Well, who better to let us know than the Lego Institute? Play does not have an immediate purpose. In fact, one of the reasons why play is so fundamental to human beings is that it's free from purpose. To play is to allow oneself to freely explore, experiment, and express things without fear or judgment. So what is the goal of play? Well, there are several different goals. One of the goals of play is the fact that children encounter their world at an experimental level as well as a cognitive level. And so play is the work of children. Play is how children learn, how they form the basics for life in society. Play is how children explore, discover, fail, and succeed, socialize, flourish, and thrive. Play really is the foundation of childhood. Play allows us to express ourselves. We discover who we are, what we like, what we don't like, what we can take pride in, and our accomplishments. Play also has a very biological component. It allows for cognitive development. It stimulates the brain, which encourages learning and creating. We rehearse what we have seen in our families or on TV, what we've read or been read to, like nursery rhymes. And that kind of play allows for children to reenact and learn social rules and peculiarities. Laughter is also a huge part of play. I was just telling some colleagues this stat earlier. So by the time a child reaches nursery school, he or she will laugh about 300 times a day. Adults, you guys laugh about an average of 17 times a day. So why is laughter so important? Well, a good laugh reduces stress. It lowers your blood pressure. It elevates your mood. It boosts your immune system. It improves brain functioning. It protects your heart, connects you to others. It fosters instant relaxation, and it makes you feel good, which tells you that adults probably should be laughing a lot more than they do today. So if play is the highest form of research, and play gives children a chance to practice what they are learning, then laughter impacts learning by helping to embed those processes. When we are laughing and enjoying something while we play, we are much more likely to learn those things. So why play? Play is where children learn the foundational rules of language, how to cooperate with others, creativity, social emotional development such as self-regulation, and most importantly, is where they build relationships and make connections with themselves, others, and the worlds around them. Peter Gray TED Talk of 2014 brings attention to the reality that over the past 60 years in the United States, there has been a gradual but overall dramatic decline in children's freedom to play with other children without adult direction. Over the same period, there has been a gradual but overall dramatic increase in anxiety, depression, feelings of helplessness, suicide, and narcissism in children and adolescents. Based on his own and others' research, Dr. Gray documents why free play is essential for children's healthy social and emotional development and outlines steps through which we can bring free play back to children's lives. It is not purely coincidence. Play helps children grow in all domains of development. Physically, through gross and fine motor skills, it helps children gain control of their muscles and build awareness of their body and the environment around them. It can also burn calories, increase the release of endorphins through the exert of energy, which improves our mood throughout the day. Good motor control is essential for school success because so many of the skills necessary in the classroom make use of the child's knowledge of his body and its relationship to the environment. If a child is not able to know where they are in space and can use all of their senses, they are at a disadvantage for learning. Play allows for the child to develop these motor controls. Play also allows for emotional resolution, the ability to express emotions, especially ones that children don't always get to express or don't have the vocabulary to express, such as anger, power, fear, and feeling inadequate. Children often don't have the words to express themselves in a verbal way, and they are able to show us that through play, they learn these vocabulary. Cognitively, play allows children to problem solve. Play is a testing ground, figuring out solutions, and then after play, seeing if those solutions work. They can find out if they're going to work in the real world. One size does not fit for play, and play does not need to be complicated. So understanding how play supports literacy means understanding how children learn. So just as a tree's roots from a foundation on which the tree can thrive, our teaching must have roots in child development in order for children to thrive. Play encourages multiple areas of development, but especially increases the acquisition of a number of literacy skills. It's not always a free-for-all, but can be an intentional focus on these skills that develop through play. Play is powerful, it is nurturing to the child, and creates various educational opportunities. It is a gradual and unfolding process that takes time and exploration of things with others and on their own. Many children's behavior have a play element in them, from figure plays to movement games to building with blocks. However, the play that has the most profound effect on language and literacy development is dramatic play. The characteristics of dramatic play that provide the best opportunities for children to practice language and literacy include a variety of props and objects, combining multiple roles and themes, and creating a pretend scenario and solving disagreements by talking and negotiating. While children play, here are some common comments I hear and observe as children learn through play. For instance, they can make a plan and follow through. I want to draw my family. Will I put my picture? They can learn from trial and error using imagination and problem-solving skills. Oh, my tower fell down. Maybe my friend can help build it up again. They can apply concepts of quantity, science, and movement to real life. I like these big seeds. How many do you think I'll need to cover this part of my picture? They can reason in a logical, analytical manner by acting on objects. There are still some pieces missing in this puzzle. Which ones might fit? They can communicate with classmates and negotiate differences of point of view. I want to be the mother. Could you be the baby or maybe the grandmother? They can derive satisfaction from their own accomplishments. We did it together. And they can develop creativity and explore aesthetics and artistry. I wonder what will happen if I mix these colors together. Talking, singing, playing sounds, and word games, reading, writing, and drawing with your students are always a great way to lay a good literacy foundation. The great news is that everyday activities are all fun opportunities for literacy development. So here we go. What can you do in your classroom? How does play benefit the literacy skills? Well, as we just talked about with our memories, recall. We remember play. Creative thinking is another benefit. And finally, problem solving. And I'm not even going to talk about all the different negotiation and communication skills that come with problem solving and creative thinking. But what about your classroom? How can you set that up to include literacy through play? You'll have activity centers around a current theme of learning, and you can have you can have up to 15 activity learning centers around a theme. Blocks, kitchen, a library corner or a reading nook, artist workshop, manipulatives on tables, and so much more. Having your classroom ready for these play learning activities encourages the students' literacy skills to be impacted, be that from interacting with others, which works their language and thinking skills, to listening to directions. Drawing or creating art will prepare their hands for writing. Even practicing or pretending to read, depending on the age and level of the child, can have a large impact on children's literacy skills. All of this and more can promote an optimal literacy development. Speech and play provides children with opportunities to have planned and promoted conversations. You can build in discussion times with your stations or playtime. I actually really recommend that you do build discussion times into your stations and playtime. It can be very valuable for reflections, for retelling, or even re-examination of events. This can also be a time for small talk. In play, children can symbolize ideas and feelings through gestures and speech. They can collaborate with friends. Children will re-examine life experiences, adding their imagination and at times manipulating happenings, settings, and people. Their stories are very entertaining. Play and writing can take on various forms. Print, signs, and writing imaginary messages often become part of a dramatic play sequence. During play, children may pretend to read and write. They may practice words. They may write poems, stories, songs, and let's be real, text messages. And they may actually be making a series of marks on paper. Play allows children to act as if they are already competent in the skills that they are learning. Early childhood teachers can build on these early attitudes by modeling, demonstrating, and providing dramatic play opportunities involving print, which promote collaborative peer interaction and literacy learning. Some dramatic play themes could be post office with stamps, letters, magazines, taco stand with charts, prices, play money, and hopefully some tacos, and grocery shopping with shopping lists, labels, pencils, pictures. Learning is an adventure and discovery learning is engaging. These are all things that we strive to have our students feel when it comes to learning. Providing these play learning opportunities only enhances these valuable experiences. In that same breath, it is also okay to let them fail. This will teach them more in the long run rather than swooping in and providing the right answer. It teaches them problem solving and helps them engage in their self-regulatory skills. These executive functioning skills are most desirable by employers today. Make sure that this is not just a free play experience. There is a time and a place for free play versus directed play. You need them both. Having the thematic groupings and various station activities as you observe for proficiency will provide valuable feedback to their current level of learning. My biggest tip to get families on board is to first give them information on the classroom logistics and how play interaction encourages all developmental domains of learning. Sometimes families think play is a waste of time. I'm outlining why play is so important, and if you want to share this to YouTube, you could. So how do you plan for play and its impact on literacy development? Planning play does not mean that children have to rigidly adhere to these plans. Planning involves preparing for play so that children have a better chance of having positive language-rich interactions rather than arguments and conflicts. You can help children plan for play by making sure children know how they would play, the roles they're playing, the theme of the day, the scenarios to follow, the props they could use, and that they can communicate this knowledge to their playmates. Encouraging children to plan their play orally and later use drawing and writing. You can help them plan their play by creating opportunities for play mentoring. Now, play mentoring is a fun tool to use. It could be children of the same age or with a higher level of play or older children. After school programs provide an excellent opportunity for young children to learn play skills in a multi-age group situation. Emphasizing the language and the actions of the roles children act out and that exemplify positive social behaviors, like polite language used by a salesperson, or how truck drivers can carry blocks and construction workers use them, and they discuss that. Must coordinate their actions when building a house. is another way you can help children plan for play. Play planning encourages children to practice using language and discuss the play scenario and to make the roles, props, and actions clear to the other players. It is a time when the teacher can prompt the use of new vocabulary and encourage children to use literacy elements like pencils, papers, and books that are in the play area. In addition to having an overall effect on the quality and duration of play, learning to use appropriate strategies in play supports the development of self-regulation, and self-regulation is one of the universal prerequisites for any academic learning, including literacy. When children plan together, negotiate their roles, or correct a playmate whose actions do not fit the role he's playing, they learn how to delay gratification. They learn to do these things that may not seem to be the most attractive choices at the moment, but are needed for sustaining play in the long run. So how can you create an environment for play? Nothing creates a safer space for youth to stretch themselves, explore, grow, develop skills, learn, and build relationships than the act of play in the classroom. You're probably already familiar with the concept of literacy-rich environments. If we are to approach play development in the same thoughtful way, we will need to take a closer look at our classrooms to see if there is enough there to support mature, high-level play. Here are some ways to make your classroom play-rich. Make sure there's a long, uninterrupted block of time in the schedule reserved for play. Children need time to plan their play, to negotiate roles with each other, to choose or make props, and finally to carry out their play ideas. On average, it takes from a half hour to an hour for young children to develop and act out a good play scenario. Have a combination of props in the dramatic play center, some that are realistic and theme specific and some that are not. Returning from a field trip, try to arrange from the host to let you have one or two props associated with that specific setting. Place pictures you took on the field trips or copies of book illustrations of the theme that you're studying in the dramatic play area when children are using play themes based on these trips and books. This will remind children of the different roles they can play. Refrain from limiting pretend play to the dramatic play center. Have enough toys and props in all the centers for children to be able to engage and play in all those areas as well. Extend the play theme to other centers. Children in the art center can make the pizzas for the restaurant, or children at the stand table can be planting the vegetables that will be sold in the supermarket. Make sure you have different play scenarios going on in different centers. The literacy center can be a school, or like I said, a post office, or a library. Have children practice pretending in different situations and incorporate elements of pretend play into other activities and routines throughout the day. For example, if you have to take the children on a trip to the bathroom across the hall, you can help them to go quietly by asking them to pretend that they are little mice. Suggest they walk in such a way that they would not wake up a cat who is hiding in the hall. With small adjustments to the things that you are already doing in the classroom, you can create the play-rich environment that will promote and develop language and literacy. For instance, children were more motivated to explore academic standards within their play because it was meaningful to them. After my class read Miss Maple's Seeds last fall, the children became fascinated by the knowledge that Eliza Wheeler had created the pictures and story from her imagination. They grew curious about how the book was made. After discussing the book-making process in our circle, a child exclaimed, "We can make books too." A few minutes later, a group of children went off to the art center and created their books on their own. Through play, they learned how to think creatively and problem solve, about their own limitations and how to challenge themselves, how to persist through challenges, how to make and follow rules and get along with others, how to think symbolically, and that you're awesome and capable and strong and brave. Outside play, I get questions about that often, and it's probably one of the most challenging for educators to use for promoting literacy, but it's possible to offer materials and activities that include literacy feature outside. Probably the most common way is to try to read books on a blanket, in the shade, in a playhouse, or under a tree. Sidewalk chalk activities and games can be fun. It might include printing names to jump over or on, printing simple directions that read, "Follow this line," or a version of hopscotch with numbers. You can hang letters or bikes or label outdoor items for letter and word recognition. So outdoors, don't be afraid of it. Go on outside, see the sunshine. It's good for you. This slide has a list of learning props and materials recommended from Scholastic. for your learning centers that will foster language and literacy rich areas. You can see there's in every area something to play with. So don't be shy about having toys. Doesn't have to be labeled toys. Actually, it's probably better that they aren't labeled toys or gender specific. But in every area or every station, you can have some toys that they can play with as they're learning that other skills. A common consideration, concern, or question, what have you, that I hear when it comes to learning through play is how do we assess it? Some have had an initial hesitation surrounding play-based learning because they worried that it would impact their ability to teach district-mandated programs or address required academic standards and assessments. However, observing young students as they play gave me the new insights on how they think and learn. Teachers were able to use that knowledge and address their individual needs more effectively. Current reality is that ECE teachers, especially preschool, kindergarten, first grade, are assessing on various benchmarks, standardized measures, and are constantly pulling students out to isolate a performance, a standard, or checking for understanding. So how do you assess during play and meet all the needs that are before you or all the initiatives? I have two suggestions. You could use a running record, a clipboard with each child's name or a file folder for each child. List the standard you're measuring of the day, that week, that month, that unit, and use observation through play to take notes. You will see problem solving, language, peer-informed rules, interactions, counting, social skills, gross and fine motor skills. So some real important things can come from this observation. You will know who you will need to work with more one-on-one from your observation, and you will also know who you need to challenge and or who is ready to move on. Another suggestion is that you could also have a portfolio for each student. Keep artifacts that show proficiency or mastery of the standard. You can include the running records too. I've compiled the portfolio in several ways over my years of teaching, back to file folders and crates, so I have easy access. You can do it now in Google, which is really super easy with an iPad, or you can also keep them in individual folders or student binders that are tabbed with the standards if you need them on paper. On this slide is an example of an assessment framework that can be used, manipulated, etc. Not only is literacy part of the wheel of learning through play, but so is physical development, communication and language, mathematics, understanding the world, expressive arts, and personal, social, emotional development. I wanted to give you a real life example of how learning is measured through play. Of course, I think literacy encompasses all these things. Learning through play is not only for preschoolers. In the primary grades, play opportunities enhance children's mastery of academic concepts and builds motivation to learn. In fact, two of the most important things that play can develop are interest and motivation. Encouraging these in the early grades bring children on board to contributing to their own learning in the classroom. For example, playing board games can strengthen math concepts while building social competence. Book clubs, dramatizing stories, and other reading games make it much more likely for struggling readers to move ahead and not give up. Exploration of a wide variety of printed materials and writing tools at a writing corner can engage reluctant writers and help children learn from one another. Further, play fosters creativity and imagination, critical components in enabling us to cope, to find pleasure, and to innovate. Play and opportunities to engage actively in learning strengthens students' creative powers. Letting primary grade students engage actively with materials, issues, topics opens up the space for inquiry and problem solving. Bringing play-based learning to the classroom creates balance, deepens our learning, and defines our classroom community as a place where we could learn and grow together. Play provides children with opportunities to succeed and fail, to learn about cause and effect, and perhaps most importantly, it provides opportunities for children to reach those aha moments on their own. So that is the quick and dirty about play and literacy. There's power in our individual experiences of play. Bring those into the classroom and never stop sharing. I want to thank you all for viewing my presentation. If you please don't hesitate, if you want to contact me, here's my contact information. And I appreciate you spending your lunch hour if you're in Central Time, or your morning if you're in the coast with me.